Hey guys, today I wanted to do a day in the life of a teacher. So I'm going to take you behind the scenes and show you what it is that I do on a day-to-day basis in kindergarten. So the first thing that I like to do when I enter into my classroom is turn on all of my lamps and fix my pillows. I'm a little OCD about my pillows. So I turn my lights on and I go ahead and start taking out all of my materials that I've kind of brought home. So I take out my planner, I take out my teacher planner, my laptop, my Diet Coke, which is very important for me to start the morning. And I just kind of start to get myself situated. Once I take out all of my things, I like to open up my teacher planner and flip to today's lesson. So I quickly just kind of look over what it is that I'm doing for the day, just so that I can have a great idea of pretty much my plan for the day. I also turn on my laptop, which takes a little bit for it to get started, and I will take my teacher planner and place it on my black desk. This is where I do all of my instructions, so I like to make sure that my lesson plans are right in front of me at all times. Once my students walk into my classroom, they get started with their counting jar right away. So I'm busy while they're doing that, helping other students, and I'm taking out my assessments for the day. So once my kids finish up with their counting jar, they bring that to me so that I can quickly check over it. The announcements will come on around 7:50 in the morning. So as soon as the announcements come on, I have my kids all stop, we all stand together, we face the flag, and we say the Pledge of Allegiance. Once that is finished, announcements are over, I like to make sure that I stop my class and I kind of just double check and make sure that everybody's inside of my room and unpacked. Then I give them directions as to what they're doing. I'll go over the daily data question, I'll tell them to complete their counting jar, and then I'll let them know about their task that they have for that day. As my students are working on their counting jar and morning activities, I'm doing a couple of assessments in the morning. I'll even get together a small group that we can quickly just go over some of those different skills that I've noticed that some kids are maybe having issues with. So I will do a quick small group with them and go over some of these. Here I'm doing a math small group. Next up comes my intervention time. So this is the time when I'm working with those students who need just some extra support. So I'll pull them and we begin working on some of those skills that they need. Once my intervention is complete, I will ring my bell and my students will start cleaning up and making their way to the carpet. The first thing that we like to do once we get to the carpet is sing our good morning song. So we sing that standing up so we can get ourselves pumped up and ready for the day. After our morning song, I like to sit down with my students in a circle, and this is the time when I start to talk about some of the behaviors that I've seen, maybe if it's some class issues that I need to correct, and then I also just give my kids the opportunity to have some shout outs so that they can share some things that are happening with them. Then we'll move into our morning message. And this is the time where my kids and I are coming together and we're talking about some of those phonics skills. So now I've transitioned my morning message from me actually writing it out and us going through each word to now my kids sharing out something. We pound it out for the sentence and then I have them come up and do some shared writing. After that, we like to get some wiggles out with Go Noodle. I mean, who doesn't love that, right? So once we got our wiggles out, we sit back down on the carpet and it's time for our writing mini lesson. So this is the time where I like to do a mini lesson. I'll read a book typically, or we're reviewing one of our mentor texts, and then I'd like to model some of that writing. Once we model it, we may do a little bit of shared writing with it, and then after that, we'll start to make our way into independent practice. So during independent practice, I give my kids the option of sitting wherever they choose. The majority of them like to sit at their table, which is really funny. I like to see how my classes vary up. So this is a time where I'm walking around making sure that all of my kids are pretty much understanding what they need to be doing. Then I will make my way into my writing conferences, and I usually take it to where I can do one data binder during my writing conference. This is where we're reviewing some of their learning, and then I can also make some assessments at this time during their data binders. So at 9:35 on the dot, we line up so that we can make our way to specials. Today, we are making our way to library. My kids absolutely love library time. So I get 30 minutes of planning time, and this is a time where I start to get myself ready for my reading workshop. I like to make sure that everything is ready to go because once we get in, it is gung-ho reading all the way. So I take out all of my items for my small groups. If you haven't seen my Periscope on my small group buckets, check it out. It is fantastic. Then I like to just go over my calendar, make sure that I don't have anything planned, make sure there aren't any drills or any meetings that I need to be attending for the day. I'll also make my way to my laptop, check my emails to check for changes in transportation or any other notes from my administrator. I'll also go over my inbox. I like to make sure that I have everything as far as being copied, whether it needs to be cut or filed away. So this is the time that I do that. And of course, if I have those copies that I need to make, I go ahead and make those right away. Something important to note that as soon as I make my copies, I like to put them away right away. So I opened up my 31 drawer system, and if you haven't heard me talk about that, I am going to be talking about it in detail pretty soon. So I take all of those copies that I know that I'm going to teach on a specific day, and I stick it inside of that folder. I'll also take this opportunity to put any conference notes or anything that I need to send to my parents that come from me inside of their mailboxes. Then it's off to go pick up my kids. So once I have my kids, we pretty much walk down and we go straight to recess. Our recess time is at 10:10. So we make our way outside if it is absolutely beautiful. And lately, y'all, it has been gorgeous in the state of Alabama. I think spring has finally showed itself. Once out there, I start tying shoes. So recess ends for us at 10:30, and we make our way back into the building, and we like to stop at the bathroom just so that we can wash our hands. When we enter back into the classroom, we immediately pull out our snacks. After snacks, my students go ahead and independent read until we're ready for whole group. Once whole group starts, I do my mini lesson, and typically I do it beginning with a phonological lesson, and then after that we dive into our book and I start focusing on that skill and that standard for that week. My whole group lesson typically lasts for about 15 minutes. Once that's complete, I let my kids go into reading workshop, and I'm pulling small groups within this time. Everyone else is pretty much working on their super centers, their partner reading, independent reading. They're practicing on some of their goals that they have for that week, so it just depends on the student. I also take this opportunity to do some assessments as well if I have extra time. At 12:10, we make our way to the lunchroom. As soon as lunch is over, which lasts about 20 minutes, we stop at the bathroom and then we go directly to PE. On this day, we had PE outside, so I was taking my kids out so that they can go and play on the field. Then I take this opportunity for my planning time, which again lasts for 30 minutes. I come in, check my communication folder, and I go ahead and put all of the papers that I get from the office into my students' mailboxes. I also take this opportunity to clean. It seems like that's pretty much what I feel like I'm doing my entire break. I will also put away all of my small group items. I don't really take the opportunity to do that during my reading workshop because when I'm in the moment, I'm in the moment. I will also put away some of those assessments, check those, make any notes that I need to make for my students, and file those away. Then I check my email for any notes from parents or administration. I also take this time to start pulling any materials that I need for the next few weeks. So here I'm just pulling some materials that I know I'm going to be needing that are coming up within the next 2 weeks. Then I take all those materials and I file them away into my 31 folder system. Y'all, this system absolutely saves my life every time. I absolutely love it and cannot rave about it anymore. At 1:15, I'm off to pick up my kids. Once we get back into the building after PE, I like to stop at the bathroom just so that they have the chance to wash their face, wash their hands, because y'all, they are sweaty during this time. Once that's finished, we line back up and we make our way back to our room. Once we're in our room, which is around 1:20, we dive into math. And usually we begin it with a song. So we start it with a song. We like to get up, get some of those wiggles out, and sing together. Then we go ahead and do our calendar. And y'all, my calendar is super short. It's nothing special, nothing fancy. I talk about today, yesterday, and tomorrow. We log the weather for that day. I change my digital date. But that's really about it as far as what my calendar consists of. Then we will add a star for how many days we've been in school, and this is the time when I talk about patterns. We talk about counting by ones, by fives, by tens, and we also talk about place values. So this is where I spend a lot of my time during my calendar time. This portion of my calendar usually lasts for me about 10 minutes. After calendar time, we have some type of a math warm-up, and this varies on a day-to-day basis. On this particular day, we're working with rec and rec, so it's pretty much telling combinations of numbers. So I like to give my students a number, and they have to tell me what combination I have, so they show it to me on their rec and rec. So after our math warm-up, we have some type of a mini lesson, and typically mini lessons will last about 10 minutes for us. On this particular day, our mini lesson was extremely short, and it is something that we have already practiced a bunch of times. So I skipped over our mini lesson. We went directly into our CHAMP math rotations. So here I'm just making sure that students are getting to where they need to be for CHAMP. And our math rotations typically last about 15 to 20 minutes. Once all of my students are in their positions, I make my way to my small group table, and this is where I have my students that I am meeting with for that day. So I only meet with one group a day for math. Usually if I need to meet with them anymore, I pull them within that morning time that you saw earlier. And here's a look-see at what my kids are doing during math. So you see there are students that are working in their math journals. They're applying some of that knowledge. You have buddy games going on. You have iPads going on. So there's various different things that my students are doing within Math Workshop. So right after Math Workshop, we like to sit back down at the carpet and have a reflection time. And this is where we're just talking about the various skills that we were using during Math Workshop. I also like to take this opportunity to talk about some of those students that had some aha moments and then maybe some struggles so that we can kind of brainstorm together and think about what they could do to help solve some of those problems. After our math reflection time, I dismiss my students by table so they can grab their communication folders and their poetry notebooks. So this is them getting everything out of their mailboxes. They lay their heads down, they take out their reading log from the day before, and they also take out their behavior chart so that I can check it. Once everything is checked, they can finish packing up and they can make their ways outside so that they can put everything inside of their backpacks. So once my students have everything packed up, and I do like to get packed up a few minutes before the bell, just so that in case it does get crazy and we're trying to finish things, we're not in a rush to try to pack up. So they place their backpacks on the back of their chairs and they make their way to the carpet. For the last 15 to 20 minutes of the day, it's my science and social studies time. So typically this varies on a day-to-day basis because sometimes I'm taking this opportunity to do data binders. My students are working kind of their enrichment period where they're writing, they're still reading, they're finishing up super centers. It just varies on occasion. So here I wanted to go back over some of the material that we were reading, and I also had a short video for them to watch. Y'all, they absolutely love videos, and if you haven't heard about Discovery streaming, I would definitely check it out because it has some great videos. Today, on this day, we were looking at a video of a thunderstorm because they had to complete a thunderstorm description for their super centers. So I really wanted them to experience the sounds and what it looked like so they can kind of start building back some of that background knowledge or kind of channeling into their schema. At 2:45, the end of the day announcements come on, and that's typically when I start having my bells lining up. So first bell will line up first, and once they're dismissed, and the next bell will line up, and so on and so forth. But this is also the time where I like to make sure that my students are all working together to make sure that our classroom is ready and set for the day. I don't do jobs because I want to make sure that everybody understands that we're doing this as a community, that it's not just one person that's responsible for making sure that everything is put up. So folders are out, bowls are out, they've checked to make sure everything's off the floor, and then they line themselves up for their bell for the end of the day. Once all of the students are gone, this is a time where I start cleaning up some of my materials, putting away some of the things that I was using for teaching. I shut off my computers and my smart board and just really start getting ready for the next day. If I have extra time and I don't have a meeting that I have to get to, I will definitely have to take a broom and start sweeping my carpet. I know that's crazy. We don't have vacuums, but I sweep my carpet and I also sweep the floor because there are rocks and there's grass. There's just various little things, and I like to make sure that my classroom is neat and tidy and everything is just looking perfect and ready for my kids to come in and have a great start to the day. Once my whole group area is cleaned up, I work my way to my small group area, and this is the time when I start filing some of those things away, making sure that I have all of my materials for the next day, and I start putting all of the things that I'm going to be taking home into a nice little neat pile so that I know and I don't miss anything or forget anything when I leave. I also pull out my folder for the next day, and this has all of my teaching materials inside of it, and I like to place that on my black table. Again, this is where I do a lot of my teaching, so I want to make sure that those materials are right where I need them to be. Then it's time to change my data question, and I also change the pattern for the day and double check the number inside of their counting jar. This is what my students do as soon as they come in the morning, so I like to make sure that everything is done and ready to go so that in case there is an emergency or I'm falling behind or something just happens, I mean, you really never know, they are ready to go and they have everything set so they can come in the morning and they can get themselves busy right away. One of the last things that I like to do right before I pack up to get ready to go home is check my emails. Again, I just want to make sure that I have any emails that I need to respond for parents, anything from administration, PTO, or just anything from my team members. Once everything has been checked and everything's ready to go for the morning, I can take my bag out and start packing away all of my materials. Remember my nice little neat pile that I was telling you about? Well, there it is. I have everything right there ready to get packed up inside of my bag so that I don't forget anything. So once everything is packed up in my bags, my table's cleared off, my emails have been checked, and the morning work is ready to go for the next day, I can start making my way out of the door. So I hope you guys enjoyed watching a day in the life of a kindergarten teacher. This is pretty much what I do on a day-to-day basis, except for when we have those crazy days where we have drills and performances that we have to go and watch, but this is just a typical day for me. I hope you guys had a great idea are getting a great idea of what I do on a day-to-day basis. If you have any questions, please leave them down below and I will do my best to answer them. And as always, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please make sure you give it a thumbs up, and I will talk to you guys really soon. Thanks for watching. Bye!